All right. Okay, good afternoon. I would like to call to order the December 16th, 2024 Committee on Real Estate to order. Councilmember Tinkler, would you be so kind to lead us in an invocation?
Sure. We could just bow our heads for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. First item up is approval of the November 25th, 2024 meeting minutes. Can I entertain a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have them. First item up, we've got 3 Lockwood Drive back before the Real Estate Committee. And this is a Fourth Amendment to the lease. Can I entertain a motion to go ahead and get this on the floor?
Move to
Move
approve.
for approval.
Okay, moved and properly
Second.
seconded. Okay, Ms. Creech, do you want to give us I'm sorry, Miss Dinwiddie. Sorry about that. Do you want to give us a little bit of a background on this and maybe where this has come from last time we saw it?
Yes, sir. So this Fourth Amendment has been before Real Estate Committee 2 previous times. Both times it was deferred as we tried to negotiate terms that would be acceptable. Some updates for the Real Estate Committee as of today. I have spoken with Safe Harbor, and I understand that Safe Harbor is no longer going to be moving forward with the acquisition of this lease as had previously been discussed. With that said, we are moving forward with the amendment. Mr. Dodds is on. He is representing Charleston Marine Holdings, which is the current tenant of that lease. Mr. Dodds and I understand Charleston Marine Holdings. We have come to some terms that we believe would be acceptable to the Real Estate Committee that we would like to present today. In your packet, you have a draft Fourth Amendment, but what I'm going to share my screen and the terms of what is in your packet are being altered slightly, and I think it's best if I share my screen so that you can see what those changes are. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. So previously, what we had brought to Real Estate Committee for consideration was an agreement that would add 4 extensions of 5 years each. The agreement currently would naturally expire in April of 2027. And under the current agreement, we have 3% escalation on the rent amounts. And as this committee recalls, this is a ground lease. I believe the current lease amount right now, monthly rental is about $7,370. And that 3% escalation will continue through the remainder of the current lease term. As I said, under the previous amendment that we proposed, it would have 4 additional 5-year options, and that first extension period would continue with the 3% escalation. What we've negotiated with Charleston Marine Holdings that we would like to bring to the committee today for consideration is instead of doing 4 terms of 5-year each, we are proposing a 1 3-year extension period at the 3% escalation rate, and then 3 5-year extension periods with the rent being recalculated at the start of those to bring it up to a ground lease fair market value. So what this does ultimately is it brings the below market months from 88 months below market, which was previously brought to this committee. And under this new proposal, it would have 64 months of below market rents. The other terms that were previously included in the proposed amendment involved relocation of improvements, but that would have only applied had Safe Harbor moved forward with the assignment. So under the proposed amendment that we're bringing before you today, what we're requesting is essentially just the addition of these extension terms. So again, we would continue with the 3% escalation through one extension period of 3 years, but beginning in 2030, we would be bumping this up to ground lease fair market value rate at the remaining extension periods. We are requesting that this committee approve today the Fourth Amendment that's included in your packet, but as amended, instead of having this first period be 5 years, have this first extension period only be 3 years at the 3% escalation. We do have Mr. Dodds on our call today, and he would be happy to answer any questions or address this with the committee. I'm also happy to answer any specific questions you might have about this proposal.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dinwiddie, for that presentation. Really appreciate it. Having the spreadsheet out certainly helps, at least for me. Any questions for staff from any members of the committee, or Mayor, if you want to make some comments about this? I know you've been involved.
We looked at it. This is something trying to meet in the middle. I know there's been some concern about, why don't we just go to fair market value? We get the lease expires in 27. We could just take it back. We did a bit of a deep dive on this, and the bottom line is there's some real risks on taking it back. Sure, we could make a lot more money, but we probably have to put a decent amount of money into it. If we were to take the physical improvements back, we would definitely have to put more money back into it. We would also have to incur leasing costs, upfit costs for new tenants. There's a management component. So when you add all that together, plus the fact that the current tenants have been good tenants for a long time and been with the building and with the city through thick and thin, felt like this was a reasonable place to get us to. Again, we could definitely make more money on it, but we'd have to invest a decent amount of money in it to get that money back. I think you'd probably end up in a similar financial place by just going to fair market value on the ground lease in 3 years versus the 5 that was originally contemplated. So I think it's a good compromise.
Good deal. Councilmember Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I appreciate everybody working hard to get a compromise here. I know this has been a lot of work, so thank you. I feel like we made pretty good progress here, and I intend to support this as well.
If I could ask one question, I'm a little embarrassed that I don't know this, but Ms. Dinwiddie, when did Safe Harbor walk away? I thought that they still were wanting to. That is news to me, and I'll just tell you all that on the committee that they're not involved anymore.
Sure. They informed me this afternoon, probably around an hour and a half ago, officially.
Okay. It doesn't really matter to us. We still have, it's a ground lease, so.
I can help a little with that, Mayor.
Peter, I don't know that it's all that relevant, but if
Okay.
anybody else on the committee wants to know.
Well, it's not economically viable for them to take the lease on is the bottom line in order to meet what was suggested at the end of the first 7 years, possibly a 20-year a foot lease. The rents would have to be tripled to make what we are now, when nobody's getting rich now. So I just pass that along for what it's worth.
Okay. All right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any further comments or questions from the committee? All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the Fourth Amendment as amended today, and as discussed by Ms. Dinwiddie, please signify support by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Dodds, thank you for your patience. Appreciate it, and look forward to continuing to work with you and your team moving forward. All right. Next item up is in regards to 529 Meeting Street. This is the city's Hope Center, and we are considering a third amendment to the lease agreement between KQC Investors LLC as the landlord and the city of Charleston as the tenant. Can I entertain a motion to go ahead and get this one on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Ms. Dinwiddie?
Yes, sir. The amendment before you guys today is very straightforward. We're simply asking that the term be extended out through December 2026, the end of December 2026. We are asking for an effective date in this amendment to be December at the end of this year. The reason being is the amendment the lease actually expires at the end of this year. So we are asking for 2 additional years to stay in that building under the current terms. The purpose of this is to try to allow for additional time to finalize the permanent Hope Center plans. Under this agreement as it is, we don't pay rent. We are responsible for the taxes, insurance, maintenance, and utilities of the building, though, for our use. Happy to answer any questions.
You know, you've been on city council for a minute when you remember the Second Amendment doing the same thing. So it's getting a little gray here. So this is something we've done before, and I don't think there was any issue with it. Does anybody have any comments or questions of staff before we vote on this? All in favor of extending the lease at the Hope Center for another 2 years, please signify support by saying aye.
Right. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Next item up is another familiar item at the Real Estate Committee. This is the lease with Verizon entity in connection with the portable cell tower over at Brittlebank Park during CWE. Can I entertain a motion to get
Move
this
for
one
approval,
forward?
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, moved and properly seconded. Welcome, Councilmember Waring. Ms. Dinwiddie, anything you want to just maybe hit the high points on this one for us?
Actually, this is mine.
Ah,
This is mine. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so this will be through the month of February to support wireless access during the CWE event. The total area will be 45 by 45, and it's about a 6-foot tower. And they will be paying us $2,500 to use this particular space in Brittlebank Park.
got it. Is this going to be pretty much similar to how they've done it in years past?
Identical, same
Got it.
location.
Got it. Sounds good. Any comments or questions from the committee?
Yeah, let me get a quick question. What do they use it for?
It's to improve cell phone service. So apparently there's a bit of a blind spot over there at Brittlebank Park. And so they do this to help folks use their phones when they're gathering in that area.
Yeah, I know we've done it several years. I just,
Maybe one of those for Daniel Allen.
There was one for a while by Credit One Stadium.
Well, as luck would have it, tomorrow during public hearings, we're going to be rezoning a parcel on Daniel Island, hopefully for a cell tower. So
There you go.
Nice.
I've got a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Is this just for the benefit of Verizon customers, or is this for all cellular customers? Do we know?
I've never had anyone ask me that question before, but I can certainly find out for you.
I'm it's not that big of a deal.
It's a good question though. I
But
can find out.
is Verizon the only one with the blind spot over there? I guess I'm a Verizon customer.
Status symbol. Wow.
Verizon's the only one on the lease, so I assume they're not going to put other carriers on there.
No, it would be Verizon only.
Interesting.
I've never heard anyone complain though that doesn't have Verizon, so that is an interesting question. I'll find out.
All right. Any further comments or questions? Sounds like Seawee's upon us, which is great. All in favor of the Verizon lease, please signify support by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Next item up is a purchase and sale agreement between the City of Charleston and Bennett Cainhoy One LLC and various other entities for 15.13 acres of real property over on Clements Ferry Road in Berkeley County. And I'm not sure what this is for, so I'm going to learn.
I can give you a little.
Subdivision, right?
Yeah, this is for, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
This is part of the initiative to map out and acquire future locations for public safety facilities, particularly fire. And in this case, it would in all likelihood have a police component as well as some fleet laydown and potentially even a Berkeley County EMS facility that the Berkeley County would help contribute towards. But with all that together, it would need about not quite 15 acres. So we have a little bit extra property, but it's very well positioned for future growth and what's happening up in that corridor. So that's what this is part of.
Great. Can I entertain a motion to get this on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
All right, moved and properly seconded. Any other comments, questions from any of the members of the committee?
I have a question afterwards, after you carry the motion.
Okay. Any further questions? All right, all in favor of this acquisition, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Councilmember Waring.
Yeah, my question was, I know we were short locations on fire station. Does this get us close to being caught up, or how many other spots we're looking for?
It's a great question. So we're hoping, if not in the next public safety meeting, then the following early in 25 to present a GIS map of where current facilities are, where future facilities are targeted, you know, where we have land, where we don't have land, where some facilities this is a 25-year plan, and we're working on it with where some facilities may need to shift or be relocated. So we're trying to think. I've tasked both the chief of police and the chief of fire chief with kind of looking at it long term. So, you know, and we'll present all of that information to you. So the short answer to your question is this won't solve everything, but it certainly helps plug a big hole in future needs.
All right, thank you.
Right. Okay. Moving along to the next item. This is in connection with 108 Meeting Street. And before us is a proposed lease agreement between the City of Charleston and the Historic Charleston Foundation as the landlord for what I believe to be office space. And I know we've talked about this before. This is back before Real Estate Committee. Can I entertain a motion to go ahead and get this on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, moved and properly seconded.
And I can take this one. Both these, the next two really are related to the relocation of 75 Calhoun as proposed. And this is a little bit more involved, but do want to try and walk you all through it in that, you know, with the Union Pier TIF discussions or negotiations, we agreed to vacate 75 Calhoun at the third floor. So, and that needs to be done by July 1 of next year. So the idea is to find some temporary location to move folks to that would be, you know, least amount of disruption, with the idea of acquiring the Catholic diocese property to build an office facility there within the next 3 or so years. So what we've come up with, and I can show you some analysis that we've done. I put together a simple spreadsheet. It got a little bit complicated that when you look at the market rents, you know, some are gross leases, meaning you write one check and everything's included. Some are triple net leases, meaning you have to pay property taxes, percentage of insurance and your utilities, et cetera. Some have parking, some don't have parking. So I put together a spreadsheet to demonstrate what we've been looking at, and so we can kind of do an apples to apples comparison. And I think, Liz, if you're on, can you pull that up? Yeah, so what you have here, we were looking at 16 Broad Street, 108 Meeting here, 177 Meeting, which is at the corner of Market and Meeting, 200 Meeting Street, and then 100 Calhoun, which is an office building across the street. Most of these folks that are in 30 or 75 Calhoun do need to stay downtown. I mean, it's livability and tourism. It's HR, which we want to keep close to George Street. So we did look at a few other options outside of the peninsula, but the split up was not ideal. So when we did the analysis, you can see 16 Broad, we needed about 18 or 19,000, around 20 total. This wasn't big enough. And then same thing with 177. It didn't, we could have maybe pieced it together with other parts, maybe with 100 Calhoun, but then 100 Calhoun in the middle of this leased up. But what you can see here, and I've tried to break this down between the two, if you take the rent, like on 16 Broad, the $24 is a triple net number, add the expenses, which I've kind of broken down, market expenses below, you see down there. So that gets you to your all-in number of about $48 a square foot. You know, Meeting Street rate is a blended rate. It doesn't have as high of expenses because it's owned by a nonprofit, doesn't pay property taxes, and it doesn't have any CAM because it's a single building. So that's where you get the 45. The parking is lower there too because we're piggybacking off of 200 Meeting Street. So you can see here they're pretty close to being comparable in terms of your aggregate cost. But when we looked at it, 200 Meeting Street's ready to be moved in. It's the least disruptive. They'll agree to a shorter term lease. They have a parking deck attached to it. So it to us was the best interim solution. And then 108, I think, given its proximity in between City Hall and BFRC, there are a few departments we want to put in there that would help centralize some of the office uses there. So we've worked real hard on this. I appreciate all the work Melina's done, or Ms. Dinwiddie, as well as Liz Deek has been neck deep in this. Again, these are, especially 200 is looked at as a temporary solution. And if you look at the aggregate cost there, you can see, I wanted to do this breakdown. It's about $633,000 for 2025. The Ports Authority's agreed to fund 500 of that because, you know, they got the benefit of us moving out of, and that's going towards that $10 million in cash that they're going to be paying us, as well as additional proceeds from land. So this is going to be actually with that contribution result in a net surplus back to us because we've budgeted $462,000 in the 25 budget. So we're going to get about $328,000 back. I mean, these are rough numbers, but I think this will be pretty close. So a lot to take in there, guys, but this would solve our problem in terms of getting people out of 75 Calhoun, be the least disruptive and the most financially viable. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Councilmember Greg.
So I just have a question on when do I mean, I guess we're moving in what, June or something like that? Is that what these numbers under estimated costs at 186,311, 446,831? I mean, that's not the full year rent.
No, that's prorated based on the months, right? So the rent for 200 starts July 1, but we can get in there, I think in April, start putting cable in and whatnot. The 108 Meeting Street is, I think, a February one. It's pretty well ready to be moved in. We need some cleaning up, and they're going to put in a new HVAC, but it's pretty open and it's kind of suits our immediate needs for office space. But yeah, to your point, those are prorated on the year. And then if you look at the 26, 27, it's about $1 million is what the rent between these two spaces would cost us in total a year. And my goal is, and this is just me, this is how I'm thinking about it, but happy for discussion, either at Ways and Means or in this committee. The port is going to give us $10 million in cash, and I'm kind of thinking that $2.5 million of that would be used to bridge office space, so we don't have to impact our general operating budget until we build a new facility in West Ashley.
Okay. Yeah. I guess, yeah, so this 500,000, I mean, this is coming off the 10 million that the port. Yeah. So this is like they're deducting it out of whatever cash.
Yeah. So where we are right now with the port is, again, 10 million in cash. We haven't finalized how and when that would be paid. The majority of it, they're willing to pay the 2.5 in advance of closing. Because they're not closing on the property until 27, and we need the money now. So what we've talked about is $500,000 in 25 and $1 million a year from them in 26 and 27. And then they would pay us $7.5 million at the closing, and at least $10 million in value of land or cash on the peninsula that could be used for affordable housing if we deem that appropriate use. And then Ben Navarro has agreed to $10 million, at minimum of $10 million in affordable housing on site. So that's $30 million in aggregate value, not all cash, mind you, but to get us to the 10% of proceeds back from the sale, as I understand it, what the purchase price is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, why don't we do this prorated out over 3 years as opposed to, I guess 1 year with some prorated timeframes in here. Also, I know we had some expenses at Calhoun Street, right? I mean,
I'm sure, yeah.
Everything over there wasn't free. I mean,
No.
whether maintenance or something, but anyway, we had some minor expenses on there. I think that ought to be considered in the calculation here. So, I mean, one thing about it is obviously we're getting another parcel, but we can't afford to tarry longer than that 3-year period. We need to obviously find out where we're going to go. I could see we'll end up renting 5-7 years from now. We'd still be renting this thing.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to talk to this committee about is how to expedite the design and obviously permitting, but also the construction of a facility in West Ashley. I worry about, we have a great capital projects team, but there's a lot coming down the pipeline, and this might make sense to do a design build RFP so that we can kind of leverage off the private sector, frankly, to expedite. So your point on timing, Councilman Waring, I'm very focused on it. I'm very focused on making sure that this doesn't end up being a 4, 5, 6 year process to get the facility that we need in West Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I'm saying that. I mean, we've got some parcel of land, for example, we've gotten for affordable housing. And I think there's a parcel, and there are reasons for it, but I think we've had those lands 7, 8 years and nothing going vertical yet. I think we're getting close. And that's just on some townhouses. I think like 10 or 11 townhouses over in the Ardmore area. So now we're talking about office building. I wouldn't want that to happen in this situation right here. So I think we all need to be mindful of that. We bought, I don't know, the acreage out of Faverdia Drive.
Yeah.
This is before you became mayor, for affordable housing. Took it out of the TIF for affordable housing. It was a divided vote. But I'm eager to see when we're going to go vertical on that, but I would doubt when you got to extend water and sewer lines and the like to be able to go vertical. We're going to be inventorying that property a while before we get vertical. So would not want the same thing to happen here because we got a double whammy here. We're just not paying for it. We got lease income. There's one thing this city worked hard to get away from is having our people spread about, with rental properties. And I know you're gonna hear this again probably when we get to city council. But
Yeah, and I'm
having
with
a
you
plan,
100%.
having a plan where we're gonna go and doing it efficiently, so it's gonna make sense for all of us. But I still think we ought to do this based on 3 years so we'll know our real cost. Thank you.
All right, well, so we've got, oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, it might be good to take the two together because we kind of need them together to get the full, I guess we've already made a motion on one, that's fine, but
Can we amend the motion?
I think I made the motion, so I'll
second it.
amend that we take what is it, E and F together.
I'll second.
Right, all in favor of amending the motion to take.
Councilman Bowden has his hand up.
Oh, Councilmember Bowden.
We can go ahead and vote. I just had a question about what was going to happen after this, but it's nothing critical.
I guess, do we need to amend? Do we need to vote on an amendment to the motion? Or can the mayor just do that as the one who made the motion?
Yeah.
Where's
I think
Carl?
as the one who made the
vote on the
motion,
amendment.
Mr. Mayor can go ahead and amend his motion. I had it as the original motion was seconded by Councilmember Gregg, I believe. So if he wants to amend his second, then that would work.
I will amend my second. Take both together.
All right. So
All right,
now we
Robert's
got,
rules.
Is this
So
to
the-
approve them both as well, or just take them together?
I think it's to approve them both.
I think it's to take them together first and then we vote.
Well, normally we do that, but since the mayor already made a motion, I'm happy to go however we're supposed to do it. I just don't want to do it wrong.
I think we're supposed to vote on taking both of them together, which is the amended motion. And then when we
I
get
support
that on-
this.
And then when we get on the floor,
Okay.
we vote on.
All right. Let's
Me,
vote on taking them
okay.
together. All in favor of taking them together, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Okay, the motion to,
Move for approval.
okay,
Second.
motion to approve both E and F, made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Bowden, do you still have something?
Oh yeah, I guess I was just curious. So if some of these things need to stay on the peninsula, and obviously the space isn't going to be available, or we hope not to need it long term, and we have to move a lot of the stuff to West Ashley. Are things that are currently in 2 George going to move to West Ashley, and then these things move into that space, or how's that going to work? We're just not far enough down the line to know.
There's some of that, yes. I don't want to say there's a wholesale moving out of George Street, but I mean, there's some back office that could, well, not back office, that's not a right word to say. There's some non-peninsula specific uses at George that could go over there. And we've not flushed out all of the mapping on that, the programming on that yet, because we don't have a design on West Ashley yet, the diocese property. But we're going to be digging in on that. And have been. Liz and her team have been and flushing it out. So that's not a very detailed answer to your question there, but it is a work in progress, and there will be a little bit of moving around of different departments, which I think it's kind of time. And a lot of folks have been there for a while. And there's some refresh, frankly, that's going to be needed in time too, at George Street even. So I think this is coming at a good time.
Thank you.
All right. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of taking E and F together? I'm sorry, to approve E and F, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. That concludes our non-annexation items. We've got 4 annexations up today. They all appear to be residential. Can I entertain a motion to take all 4?
Move to approval.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any comments or questions about any of these 4 properties?
We got a District 1 annexation this week. Just want to point that out. It's very rare, but we got a District 1. So.
Well, since you brought it up, is this the Robert Duvall?
No, I don't believe Robert Duvall lives in Nellyville.
I mean, well, let's just pretend we've got an A-list Hollywood celebrity annexing into the city of Charleston. How about that? Right before the end of the year.
I'll make some phone calls to figure it out.
All right, you got some real
Report back at council.
star power over in District 1. All in favor of all 4 annexations, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Appreciate everybody's time today. Anybody have anything for the good of the order before we break?
Good. Thank you.
All right. See everybody tomorrow night. Thanks so much.